week on New to You, Spring, Part 2, Ferdinand the Bull. Hey everybody, welcome to the second in our spring episode of New to You Show. I am one of your hosts, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho. That's the end.
Yay!
I'm one of your hosts, John.
Good podcast, everybody.
Well done. I am one of your hosts, John. With me,
Keith Vincent, one of your other hosts.
And Julian Cage.
And our returning guest host,
Mary Varn.
All right, Mary.
Mary.
Your pick is up this week, but before we jump right into your pick, New to You Show is a review media podcast, not to be confused with the recent show I found that someone started on iTunes called New to You Media, which has like one episode out and a big picture of a blue microphone. More power to them. But we're coming for you. We're going to put the hurt on you. We're going to put you in the ground. If there's a graveyard for iTunes, I'm going to put your headstone in it.
Wow, those are good. You've been practicing those?
I'm not going to be able to talk the rest of this show now.
You guys really missed the facial expressions. Even better than the voice.
The gesticulations.
But yeah, so yeah, that's what we do is we threaten other podcasts who step on our territory because we're the only media review podcast.
We were the first and only ever, right?
There could be only one. There can be only one.
Is that your Christopher Lambert impression?
No, that's like if there was a Latin American Highlander.
There is. You know who's the Latin American? It's Sean Connery is supposed to be a Spaniard. If you watch The Highlander, Sean Connery is like a cocky Spaniard, apparently. Not at all Scottish. But he was born in Egypt?
Yeah, there can be only one.
Yeah, I'm so Spanish.
Keith brought us Mates Estate with our first pick on spring. Mary, you're up next. Why don't you go right into it?
Well, before we go, though, you know, don't we at around this time talk a little bit about our guest, or what? Does Mary not get a little like how you been, what you up to, what do you do type of thing?
She's so famous on this podcast.
That's true.
My name is Mary Varn.
All the new heads out there already know her.
Yeah.
I live with John.
Yep.
And I work with John. And now I'm doing a podcast with John.
You'll have two cats with John. No, but you're an animator. You've been in the game a while, and you've worked on some really, really fun, good, big stuff that everyone's heard of. Like, what was that HBO thing? The what box? Squawk Box? What was that?
Don't know.
You worked on some HBO show that had a lot of like stop motion on it back in the...
I Spy?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think anybody remembers that.
Okay.
But I did do that. I mean, more recently, we worked on an HBO thing, a promo for the Henrietta Lacks movie that's coming out.
I was referring to an old like children. It was for some kids.
Yeah, it's called it was like I Spy. Yeah.
Not the Eddie Murphy movie with Owen Wilson.
No.
That we've talked about a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
But you worked on Waking Life back in the day.
Yeah, and I worked on Little Einsteins with Jules and
Scanner Darkly.
Yep. Yep, I did.
Mary's very talented, y'all, and she knows her stuff when it comes to animation, so listen up when she talks about a cartoon here pretty soon.
Yeah, listen up. Although, I'm not really going to talk about the animation part of it, but oops. I didn't even look up who the animators were.
Disney people.
Yeah.
That's funny. Disney didn't credit them anyway, so
yeah, you're right, yeah.
Once upon a time, in sunny Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand.
But yeah, so my pick is the story of Ferdinand the Bull, and it started as a children's book, illustrated children's book, written by and illustrated by Americans about a bull in Spain, and I haven't read the book, sorry. But what I grew up with is watching the Disney cartoon that was made in 1938 and it's won an Oscar. And it's just super simple. It's a story about a bull who just wants to sit under a cork tree and smell the flowers and not go to bullfights. And all of his friends want to impress the guys coming around looking for candidates for bullfights. They're always headbutting and fighting. But Ferdinand just wants to sit and smell the flowers. And then one day, when those guys are coming around looking for a good candidate to be the bull in the bullfight, Ferdinand sits on a bee and gets stung. And he freaks out and runs all around. And so the guys see that, and so they recruit him. Yeah, so they recruit him for the bullfight.
We're going to love stabbing him up with swords.
Yeah. And so he gets dragged off to the bullfight, and, it's not, he's just in the back of a wagon. It's very peaceful. He's looking around and probably smelling the nice, fresh spring Spanish air. He gets to the bullfight. He's released, and, of course, he doesn't do anything because there's no bee stinging him, and the matador's going crazy, and the matador is getting really mad that Ferdinand isn't doing anything. A woman in the crowd has thrown a bouquet out to the matador. So, of course, that's flowers. So Ferdinand starts just smelling the bouquet. And the matador, meanwhile, is just getting so mad and keeps trying to provoke Ferdinand, who isn't provoked at all. Eventually, the matador just breaks down into tears. He's so upset that he can't provoke this bull. And that's it. That's the story. It's super simple. And when I picked this, I thought of this, because of spring, because Ferdinand's outside smelling flowers all the time. And I just thought this is too simple. But man, I looked it up. There's all this controversy surrounding this story and the cartoon. So I guess I think the book came out a few months before the Spanish Civil War, which I admittedly know nothing about. But apparently they thought it was like a symbol of pacifism, and it got banned in Spain.
In Spain?
Yeah.
So before the revolution.
The Spanish Civil War, yeah.
Yeah, before this. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then Hitler banned it and burned it. And a lot of commentators just had all this political allegory they were putting into it. They thought it was a symbol for pacifism. Some thought it was fascism, which I don't know how.
Right. Trump tweeted a picture of it and just said sad.
Yeah.
but I guess their point is we don't want our citizenry to think that it's okay to just not do anything and smell flowers. Is that kind of there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite get it. But yeah,
it's subversive, Mary.
Yeah.
I also wonder if there's some of the because watching it, it's from 1938. I didn't know if the caricatures. Well, I mean, this is not what they were worried about at the time, I'm sure.
Not when the book was banned.
But if the caricatures were an issue, was something else we can talk about a little later. But the other question is maybe because it was a bull who is taking on what could be seen as an effeminate trait, and the Nazis were very anti-gay and very they want a traditionalist thing where women don't wear makeup because they're busy working but they have their role in the society. Everyone's got their role in the society, and this is someone who is bucking their role in society.
It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and beef.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder if there's it's sort of twofold. One, it's being a nonconformist, and two, a homosexual nonconformist as sort of the undertones there.
Yeah, I think there's definitely people thought it was something about homosexuality too, and I mean, for me, I just think it's a great story about obviously just being yourself and being happy, but also about masculinity, both of the bull and the matador, because the matador is the showy guy who wants to get in this very symbolic kind of
battle.
Yeah, with nature.
Man conquering, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But then he's frustrated and he can't, so he just cries, which is not masculine,
Yeah.
And then the bull just wants to smell the flowers, and he's very happy with that. And that, I guess, that is something that even to this day just seems like that's not acceptable, or even to this day people would think this is a symbol for homosexuality or something,
I could see how people within the bullfighting culture would say like, oh, well, that's lame. But I can't imagine a whole like government speaking out and saying like, shame on you for, this book is banned. That seems so inane.
Yeah, and a American figure like Eleanor Roosevelt and Franklin D. Roosevelt praised it. And, it's just all these important people weighing in on this very simple children's story. Huh. So, and then, of course, now you have the whole controversy around bullfighting and, it's been banned in some parts of Spain. And
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, although there are debates as to why. Animal rights activists, I think, will take credit for it, but then the people who have actually banned it say, no, it's because it's a nationalist thing, because I think they banned it in Catalonia.
Oh, Catalan.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I really don't know much about it, but I think, they've banned it, and a lot of them will say, no, it's because it's Spanish culture, and we don't want that.
We predate Spanish culture.
Yeah,
okay.
So, but of course, it's very controversial with animal rights people, and
yeah, well, it's funny. I grew up watching cartoons. This chief among them, but so many cartoons that was a subject matter: bullfighting.
Yeah, there's a Bugs Bunny one.
I feel like they kind of reskinned that Bugs Bunny one like 4 different times too. Like it's slightly different in a bunch. But man, when I was older, and you see the real violence that happens, and I'm not talking about the violence of someone getting gored, but the violence of just when everything goes right in a bullfight, this bull is slowly being bled to death by like 15 swords. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird, I don't know. I mean, I'm not condemning it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what it means and all the symbolism involved. But it just is very weird to see as an outsider, seeing this as just something that people are like, so like as a big crowd pleaser. It seems very weird.
Yeah. And apparently last year, a bullfighter was gored to death on live TV. Of course, that was a big deal. It was the first time that had happened in many years. And some of the animal rights...
Because you know what? They don't got rodeo clowns.
Yeah.
If they just added rodeo clowns, bullfighting would be way better.
Well, they have some, there's some distraction guys. And
are there?
Yeah.
Huh.
There's definitely they actually reference them in the film, but there are quite a few players involved in the fight.
I know that there are guys on horses that are lancers if they need them, but there are also the guys that bring the different swords to the guy too, right, to the bullfighter.
Oh yeah. They talk about when they bring them out in the cartoon. They're like the picadors and the blah blah blah. But anyway, when this guy got gored, there was, I'm gonna assume it was a vocal minority of the animal rights activists who were cheering his death. And
I imagine if you're a person at a bullfight, there's kind of an element of, it's like watching a NASCAR. There's an element that kind of wants to see a crash. It's what makes it exciting, right?
But I don't think they were at the bullfight. I think it was kind of like afterwards, and they were
just like, that's what you get, humans.
Yeah, exactly. So then, because they were so horrible about it, there's a backlash against the backlash. Yeah. So it's just this big controversy, and now there's a Blue Sky movie coming out later this year. The trailer makes it look kind of cheesy, makes it look like something I wouldn't normally be interested in. But I am curious because it seems like they can't quite avoid the controversy of bullfighting, but I don't know, maybe they can.
And how are they going to make a feature out of that?
I don't know. It's like John Cena plays the bull, and there's some sort of
For real? Or are you just making that up?
No joke. Huh. And there's a bunch of hedgehogs that... Excuse me. There's a bunch of hedgehogs that are training him to fight, and he talks, and it's just like.
Oh, so it's going to be like a training film kind of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Movie?
It seems like it could be like a sports movie where he'll buck the system and solve it his own way, and I don't know. It's stretching a very thin premise for
especially considering when Mary described the book. The ending is kind of not super climactic anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It just kind of ends. When you're starting off with something that...
it's like, what, a 7-minute children's
They're going to write
cartoon.
they probably wrote a whole...
Oh, sure. There's going to be a whole storyline of the cool cows and the...
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the trailer features a whoa, I'm like a bull in a, oh no, I'm in a china shop.
Yeah.
And so it's like him like trying to navigate a china shop as a big old bull.
Yeah.
And being like, I'm big and scary, but I'm not scary. I'm a bull. It's just
Good.
like,
I don't know. Like
Well, it
maybe
might be
it's
good,
good.
though.
I
Who
thought
knows?
I
Yeah.
thought Zootopia trailers look like, oh, no way I'm going to see that, but that turned
Right.
out great. So
That I'm talking about a surprise. Yeah.
yeah,
that
this one
movie.
just seems a little like more like they're using gags to drive it.
gags like sloths at a DMV.
No, more like this, you know.
No, more like hedgehogs training him.
Yeah, hedgehogs train him, and you gotta run to the barrel, Ferdinand, and bash it. It's got a frowny face painted on it, and he runs and runs and runs, and a rabbit pops out of its hole, and he's like, oh no, a rabbit, slow motion, as they almost collide, and then he passes over the rabbit and flips through the air, and the rabbit has a heart attack and dies. And then he gives the rabbit heart to heart.
he doesn't
Yeah.
die.
No, he does.
Heart.
Or whatever. He gives him mouth to mouth. and then the rabbit throws a carrot at him. The end of the gag. It's in the bull in the china shop thing. It's all like,
Well, we'll see.
yeah, it's no good.
I always root for Blue Sky.
Yeah, we might know somebody who worked
yeah.
on it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, good luck to him. I don't
Oh.
I don't know. I'm not.
Holt's still upset about Peanuts.
I didn't watch that. I
Really?
just can't do it.
You should watch it, man. It's a visual tour de force.
All right.
What they were able to pull off visually on that is amazing.
Yeah, I guess
Definitely worth watching.
I don't know. I think I take it, their story and the types of stories they tell and how they tell them just don't have the
Well, then you should go watch
platform.
The Good Dinosaur because it's so.
Oh no! I mean that's another junker too. I'm not saying like that. Like Pixar's, for instance, are all hits, but Pixar tells good stories for the most part. So
Well,
and DreamWorks never tells a good story, is what I'm saying. No,
I'm
Blue
just.
Sky, you mean Blue Sky?
yeah. Who did ants?
I love the visual stuff on Blue Sky. They almost
No, they
always
do-
pull
they-
out the stops visually, and it's.
I mean, every Ice Age movie that they've done.
Just keeps
Dude, when you
getting better and
watch the
better.
first Ice Age, I mean, for when it came out, unbelievable,
The
unbelievable
one that
design.
Spielberg directed, where the little dinosaurs and they're like trying to
No,
find
you're thinking of Good Dinosaur.
No, I'm thinking of Land of the
Land
Lost.
Land Before Time is what you're thinking of.
Ferdinand,
Ferdinand the Bull. We'll just have to wait and see. We're not going to pass judgment before it
Yeah,
comes
just
out.
watch the Disney
Yeah.
cartoon.
I've
Yeah.
done it.
So did you guys grow up watching this cartoon?
Yes.
or-
Yeah.
I definitely had seen it.
And Hiawatha.
Did it?
And what was neat is going back and watching it again. Like, man, the amount of animation that goes
Yeah.
into those. Is,
Yeah.
Like we
Very
boy,
fluid.
we were spoiled as children.
Yeah.
I mean, this happened probably 50 years before any of us. Well, wait, when did you say 38?
38.
40
So
years.
yeah, 40 years before we were born. But it's, I mean, just every scene has so many animated elements.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
And so many stereotypical designs of characters.
See, that was my question. Like, there's some of the characters are hilarious looking.
Yes.
But I was kind of like, is this like, are these stereotypes? Like, so
You
all
mean
the
of the Matadors?
no, like
or the-
every
And the crowd,
every
like-
male character who was human, like, because all the women were
Yeah.
the same woman, like they were all the same, like
Wait,
exactly.
there aren't any women. There's just
No,
a
there-
cow.
No.
The bouquet throwing.
All the bouquet,
Yeah.
like, so there's two shots. You see them in like two shots.
Yeah.
There's a shot where they're all going up the stairs, which is like an amazing loop.
Mm-hmm.
You can see like the loop in the cycle, but it's looping because they're all the same character. They just,
maybe that was a money saving thing.
yeah.
maybe.
But then you
Yeah.
see them in the crowd when they throw the bouquet to the matador, and it's all the same. They're all they have slightly different color choices in their like hair accessories and dresses, but they're the
just
same
retraced.
same design. And then every man is unique, but they're like a unique sort of, again, we have very clear signifiers for like a Sambo character or something like strong, like this is bad and this isn't, like there's a reason we don't do this, and it's like these are signifiers, and I just can't tell if these are can't tell if these are like stereotyping caricatures or just like fun caricatures.
Yeah, they're
is a
somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
They're somewhere in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely like fun-looking characters, but there's definitely some of the stuff in the designs
It's
is
gotta
like,
be bad.
I don't know, made me a little uncomfortable. I guess.
Yeah. Watching it in 2017, knowing that these were Americans drawing browner people than
Right.
themselves. You know what I mean? But it's Spain, not Mexico. So
Right.
there's something about that. Like, we have a history of being worse to stereotyping Mexicans.
And it definitely, like, the designs push their differences or perceived differences or otherness or whatever.
Yeah, and there's a lot to caricature about a matador too.
Yes.
Like a lot of really obvious things. So it's in this weird zone where I don't know.
But they definitely weren't made, like the women were made to be pretty, and every man was made to be a grotesque. Like they're all like cartoon characters, where the women had like a relative level of realism to them.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just the like insane grinning, like giant grinning mouths.
Right.
You know, it's that's the part where you're like, like,
Yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
weird. Like,
Yeah,
Am I allowed to think this is good?
yeah. I mean, that's a good question. Has Disney hasn't banned this? Have they?
I don't know.
They may just be very careful about it. There's a few
Because
things
they've
they're very
pulled
careful
things
about
that
it.
are really super.
Yeah.
Well, I
It
mean,
was-
Fantasia's like
Song of the South.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one won an Academy Award. It was best short subject.
Yeah,
in
in 1938 though.
Right.
1939.
No, his best short subject to show those dirty Spaniards. It was a very specific category.
But I did find a thing that talks about some of the animators, and there's some big names in there, like Disney animators, like Milt Kahl was an animator on there. Ward Kimball was an animator on there. But also, I mean, I can list everybody, but I mean, those are like the
Yeah.
definitely the
The
biggest
standouts.
to-dos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who directed it?
It was directed by Ricard, sorry. Directed by Dick Ricard and Ford Beebe. And Don Wilson was the voice actor. And it was distributed by RKO Pictures.
And they do give credit to the book illustrator at the beginning, and I think that the designs are very reminiscent of the illustrator. But it also looks Disney, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I would be really interested to see how the Spanish dudes are portrayed in the illustrations. Although that's also American.
I'd like to watch this back to back with Pinocchio to see if they reuse any of those designs, because it's the same era.
1938, yeah.
They definitely cribbed on some Warner Brothers stuff, too. Because, like, at one point, the bullfighter, like the women throw him flowers, and he smells them, and he does the classic Bugs Bunny thing where he, like, floats up in the air and with his 2 feet together, like, flapping, and
I
he
think
kind of,
this
like,
was
does the
before that, though.
hover sniff.
Yeah. I think this was before that.
Really?
Yeah, 38. I think it was-
Somebody was stealing something.
Oh, if only Mary Varn were listening to this, she could type us the answer.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, I think that if they had Bugs Bunny at this time, he would have been wacky Bugs Bunny still.
Yeah,
He would have
done those
Clampett's
moves.
Bugs Bunny. I'm pretty sure.
Oh well,
pretty
if
early.
only we knew
Yeah.
animators to answer this question.
Maybe this. I don't know where that move came from, but it's like so recognizable. Maybe Bugs
Dover
wasn't the
Boys.
first one to do it.
The internet tells me that Bugs Bunny is an animated cartoon character created in 1940.
Oh,
Snap, so this is
Bugs
it.
Bunny stole it.
That's right.
I guess so. Or it's just a old vaudeville trick. You just
Classic
float up in
cartoon
the air
trope.
and wiggle your legs.
Your feet.
Méliès
I mean, look,
did
if
it.
I
That's
were
how I was gonna say that,
animating
yeah.
something with a bullfight in it, I would definitely reference this
Yeah.
and crib from it.
I mean,
Yes.
especially if it's a Academy Award winning film, like it's going to be known.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, now you know where it all comes from.
From Mad Academy Award
Source.
films.
Speaking of, there was a matador killed last year. A good friend of mine lives in my building. He's a documentary filmmaker who made a really interesting documentary about the matador who survived the most gorings
Oh, wow.
in history. His name in the movie's called Gourd,
oh.
and it's
And that guy's name's
fascinating.
Gordon.
And it's on Netflix.
Yeah, boy oh boy, this guy's life is something else.
Wow.
Yeah, you thought Johnny Knoxville had it bad. No, but shout out to Ido Mizrahi. He lives in my building.
Oh,
I
cool.
let his friends in when they need to be buzzed in sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading that matadors get gored all the time. Like, they expect to get gored many times all the time, just not killed. And there's like a special kind of surgeon that's just for like repairing gore holes.
I mean that. I guess that's all part of the machismo. That's a part of that. It's like. So, Mary, this reminds you of spring because it kind of takes you back to as a kid.
No, just because Ferdinand's outside, enjoying being outside and enjoying flowers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
That's basically
Classic
it.
springtime. Yeah, and that's what you want to do in the spring is just lay under a tree and be left alone.
Yeah. Well, you definitely want to soak up that sun after a long winter. That's
all those
for sure.
corks everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I derailed.
No, but I was just saying, so they can watch it where? Where can they watch Ferdinand the Bull?
On YouTube, as of this recording. It's not posted by Disney, but they also don't seem to be actively trying to take it down, so...
Yeah, there may have been those metal tins. Yes. They were like the Walt Disney treasures.
Yeah, we have those. I don't know if this is in that or not.
We'll have to go through those and see, but there's there's definitely some shorts on there, and it might be on there. It would be nice if there was a way that they would. What was nice about those series is they were presenting material that was sometimes challenging and having it curated and allowing themselves the opportunity to set that up.
You mean like possibly racist?
Definitely racist stuff and just stuff where they're like, and they do the same with the Looney Tunes like platinum sets where they say they have someone being like, this is clearly from another time and not right. There are good things in this, but this is not one of those good things. Yeah,
all the World War II ones.
Yeah. Yeah. So all kinds of good stuff.
Yep.
The Donald Duck versus Hitler. Or no, not even that. It's even not worse, but it's Donald Duck versus the Japanese. Yeah. That's a rough one. But Ferdinand the Bull. It's a good one. 1938.
Yep.
All right.
And, even going beyond that, the book, though, is really beautiful.
Yeah, when's the book from?
I think the 30s. That's all I could say. I think a few years before.
Probably 35.
Oh, wow, okay.
It was released on DVD as part of Walt Disney's Timeless Tales Volume 2, which featured Ferdinand the Bull.
Cool. Was that in those treasures, that like metal
It's
tin?
not, but it did have a platinum kind of thing, but it wasn't in the tins. There might also be a version in the tins, but I wasn't able to find
none
it.
of us here are in the habit of watching the Disney Channel, but I have a feeling, I wouldn't be surprised if they showed it on the Disney Channel as part of their,
I guess it would
think they still show too many of those old Merry Melodies.
Well, this is Disney, not.
Well, Merry Melodies was their version of Looney Tunes, wasn't it? Well, was there like early Merry Melodies was their like shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really?
But I think these are pre-Merry Melodies, maybe.
I think this is a standalone short that they made as well.
Well, all of them were standalone shorts. We just got them bundled when we were kids.
Right.
But all these were kind of,
played during movie features.
Yeah.
Merry Melodies is Warner Brothers.
Oh.
What Silly Symphonies?
Yes, that's
there
Silly
you
Symphonies,
go.
yes.
Maybe because this one didn't heavily feature music. I think the Silly Symphonies were all like music based.
Right.
No, I think that
Like
was
Peter
just
and
what
the
they
Wolf
called.
or
That's just what
the
they
Three
called
Little
their
Pigs,
like
rather.
shorts, like Looney Tunes or Merry Melodies or Silly Symphonies.
We'll go to fight on it. Good pick, Mary.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Pick for spring.
They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderilleros were afraid of him. And the picadors were afraid of him, and the matador, he was scared stiff.
To such a question, there are many possible answers, such as hard work.
Years ago, the holies are good.
Feel I'm alone in this whole of existence.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the second in our spring series with Mary's pick of Ferdinand the Bull. I was one of your hosts, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho, and you can find me on Instagram at board_ghost. And you can listen to my other podcast, a RPG storytelling podcast, at boardghost.com. Keith, where can people find you?
You can see my many artistic endeavors on earthlingkeith.com.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Beautiful Jules.
Who are you?
I'm Julian.
And I'm Mary. You can find me at maryvarn.com and on Twitter and Instagram at maryvarn.
All right. So before we go into what's next week, what's new to me this week?
What's new to you,
What's
John?
new to you, John?
Okay, so I wanted to actually call back an old new to me that's new again. The Canon is back.
Oh, yeah.
Amy Nichols and Devin Faraci did a show on Earwolf or whatever that network is, which is now very much like Stitcher branded, which was a discussion. They were two movie critics discussing films that they would let the audience vote whether those films should be in the canon of best movies of all time. It wasn't sort of a numbered list or a limited number of things, but often they'd be saying like it's in or it's out, this versus that kind of stuff. And Devin last fall ran afoul of some of his past actions where someone kind of called him out after a little. And so there's a little controversy over some stuff he did when he was like not in his best place. And so he took a break from his websites and writing and took a break from the podcast. And Amy has decided to, I think she's leaving an open invite for Devin when he's ready to come back, but has decided to start the show again. And the last episode came out, the new episode came out probably 3 weeks ago from when this episode is going up. And it was Paul Scheer from How Did This Get Made and her talking about Ghostbusters, which we have talked about with Eddie.
The original
Ghostbusters. And so it's a good one. I was actually telling Eddie, a coworker and someone who'd been on the podcast talking about Ghostbusters with us as his personal obsession about it, how Paul Scheer was saying that this film to him, like for a lot of people within our generations and maybe a little bit older, the films are A New Hope and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like those are our boys' action movies. Yeah. And for him,
big milestone movies. Yeah.
For him, it was Ghostbusters. And so he's sort of in that camp with Eddie on that. And so I think they're both of the same mind that this is a great movie. He talks about why it is sort of ripe for imitation and remake, why people will continue to try to remake it and imitate it. And you'll get pale imitators like Evolution and off the mark recreations like the new Ghostbusters but at the same time, which was kind of a good point from them, is it's funny and fun people fighting ghosts, and Abbott and Costello have done it and people will continue to do it. It's the plot is simple.
A man in a gorilla suit did it.
Yeah.
In the 70s.
So you can keep it simple and it still has some legs to it. So yeah. But the canon is back, and I'm happy for that. I like that podcast. I like people talking about movies.
And the cast change isn't too big of a change.
No, well, at this point it's going to be Amy, and she'll get a guest,
unknown guest,
right.
Yeah.
And so it used to be her and Devin as the constant, and then they would get a guest every once in a while. Yeah. Now they'll have a guest every time, and that means
that's kind of nice because otherwise you sort of expect after a while you sort of expect what they're going to say.
Right. So which is. It's a mixed bag because they had a rapport, they had a chemistry, and every time you have one person with a new person, if it's one-on-one, the chemistry is going to be different. Like,
and they're going to pull their punches a little bit too.
Right. Like they definitely had like love-hate kind of fun stuff, and that was part of the tension and the banter that was going on. And this one will just be different, and that's okay.
What I liked about there being the two people who are the same every time is it's almost like you knew their standards almost. It was always a consistent standard. So having a new guest, you don't really know, like, you don't have the history of knowing that they think that They Live should be in the canon, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Which was an episode, or you don't know from their past. You don't know the context of where they're coming from as far as their film knowledge or whatever.
Though I will say too, so it's going to be a mixed bag because a lot of the guests would bring in something that they themselves are personally invested in. I don't know how they're going to deal with that, like whether someone else is bringing a pick to them. But if someone brings a movie that they're picking it because they love it,
they personally love it,
then you already know what side of the fence they're on.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see whether they keep that format where someone's bringing something, or whether it's going to be more of a, this is what movie we want to do, here's a guest, and we'll both get on and talk about it if they have a strong opinion either way.
I will say I love Amy Nichols on that podcast, though. Like, she and I see very eye to eye on our films. Like, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, so I'm excited that that's back, and you guys should check it out. So next week, I'm going to go.
Yeah, John's going to go.
So next week, I'm going to talk about a sport that rose up out of the late 60s using a device that rose up out of the late 30s. And
Competitive bong smoking.
That's right. We're going to talk about ultimate. Not ultimate. Well, you can't call
Ultimate
it
disc.
ultimate disc. I don't want to weaken their brand. I don't want to
say Frisbee.
Oh, you want to just totally shit on Whammo's brand?
I'm going to say, you know what? Frisbee is like Kleenex. I'm sorry. It's
Yes, you're going to shit
universal.
on Kleenex's brand as a tissue company?
No, but I might wipe myself with it afterwards. But you're going to talk about Ultimate. I'm
We're
interested
going to talk
in
about
this. I love
ultimate.
this.
That's my
love
spring.
this.
Wait. You have to say Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah.
No,
That's what I
we'll
said.
go into this.
Yeah, but I
next
didn't. If you just
episode.
said we're going to talk about Ultimate, I
I'm
would
with Mary.
not
I'm
have.
with
I would
Mary
have no
on this.
idea what you're
Yeah.
talking
To
about.
find out more about next week's pick,
I'd be like, is this an anime? What?
Yeah, Ultimate Frisbee is what Holt's going to talk about, even though he's going to call it something else.
we can call it ultimate because that's his name.
Ultimate.
Yeah.
Ultimate. So, to find out more about the
Why
stuff
don't we
that
call
we
it
talked,
Ultimate Frisbone?
no,
Come
'cause
on.
that's taken.
What?
It's a dog treat.
Ultimate Brisbee?
Brisbane. Or it's Frisbee like the pie company. It's not with a Z.
I don't care.
Exactly.
Everybody knows it as Frisbee. So let's call
Yeah.
it Frisbee, and next week you can explain why that's not what you
Because
should
I
call
play
it.
with aerobies. Fuck yourself. Ultimate
Yeah,
aerobie.
yeah, you try playing with an aerobie.
Yeah. The field's like 3
Yeah,
times
exactly.
as big, and I play with 20 people. All right. To find out more about Ferdinand the Bull and the other stuff we talked about on the show, go to newtoyoushow.com. You can follow us on iTunes and leave reviews and ratings on iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter at newtoyoushow. And yeah, gang, come back come back for more spring.
That's
it may
right.
not be new,
But
but
maybe
maybe it's
it's
new
new
to
to
you.
All about the
Explosion
music.
sound.
This pitiful life is all about the music. This pitiful life is all about the music.
With him together forever, without the limitation of time ever again. So the second coming of the Lord is not dead. They're two separate